Look, we all know what's occurred in Epping because, of course, the Bell Hotel, one of those residents, they call them, a not-so-small boat migrant, he was accused of sexually assaulting children and a grown adult as well. That led, of course, to protests. Well, today that fella has now been sentenced to 12 months in jail. Now, this is your area, isn't it? This is your patch, for want of a better word. What do you think to this?
Well, I mean, my heart sinks for the family. I know they're hurting, and I just think this is just an insult, this sentence. But I think the worst thing about this for me, Michelle, is he's already served months on remand. He could potentially be out before Christmas. This is just a great example of why this country is just in such a bad way. But you know something? I was looking today. There is a direct flight from Heathrow to Addis Ababa in Ethiopia tonight at 9 o'clock. Why is this person not on that flight? This person does not deserve to be in Britain. They need to be deported immediately. And I think he's already said he wants to go, which I find quite remarkable as well. But my heart is with the family. But Michelle, the people of Epping have been peacefully protesting, and they've been called all sorts because they called out this man for what he allegedly had done. The mums, the young girls there have been called far right this, far right that. Even the Prime Minister starts to allude to people that are concerned about women's safety as far right. And I think they've been vindicated today by this sentence. I think the verdict was a vindication of those mums who have been peacefully protesting week in, week out. It's been an honour to join them. They are brave, courageous women. They've forgot about their careers because many of them are worried about what their boss might say if they're on camera at one of these protests, which is outrageous for a democracy. But I am delighted for those women that have been standing up against this government and this awful hotel decision, because they have been proven today. We've had an asylum seeker who was in this country, sorry, I shouldn't say asylum seeker, an illegal migrant, came to this country on a boat, sexually assaulted a 14-year-old girl in her school uniform, was then arrested, charged, convicted and now sentenced. Those mums in Epping are vindicated. And
just to be clear as well, this fella did this 8 days after he'd arrived in this country, a week, basically. Geoff, your thoughts?
Well, it's quite right that he's being punished, and as I understand it, the Home Office have already said that he will be deported at the end of his sentence. So not only is he being punished, he will also be sent back to where he came from. So that seems to me absolutely right.
Have you had a random call lately from a strange number, maybe trying to sell you something or even scam you? If so, your info could be out there. That's because of data brokers, shady companies that scrape the internet for your personal details and sell them to marketers or even scammers. These days, scammers can even use AI to mimic your friends' voices and trick you into sending money. It's not just annoying. Data brokers often target vulnerable people with high-interest loans or sketchy offers. But there is a solution. Incogni, the sponsor of this video. Incogni contacts data brokers on your behalf and requests your info be deleted from their databases. And because your data can keep popping up, Incogni keeps sending removal requests to make sure it stays gone. They've just launched a new unlimited plan with custom removals. If you find your info on a weird website, just send them the link and their privacy team will work to get it taken down. Getting started is easy. Hit the link in the description, create your account and let Incogni handle the rest. It's risk-free for 30 days and you'll get 60% off an annual plan with the code GBNews. Take back control of your data with Incogni.
Let me tell you the story. So if you're not familiar, I'll tell you the story about this fella. So he comes into this country, breaks the law, not so small boats. I hate that we call these things small boats. They're absolutely massive. They've got the capacity of like a double-decker bus now. But anyway, he comes into this country. These school kids are sitting on the front. They're eating some pizza. He wanders over. He feels hungry. The kid turns around. The girl turns around to him and says, basically, are you hungry? Do you want a bit of food? This fella then turns around to this young girl, basically tries to kiss her and invites her back to the hotel to, quote, try and make a baby. She feels really uncomfortable. Off they go. The next night or a couple of nights later, they're sitting back on the same bench. Same fella comes over again, starts making sexually suggestive comments to this young girl, 14-year-old girl dressed in a school uniform. A boy has to come and sit between the two of them. The child feels so uncomfortable. A woman witnesses this, goes off and gets a piece of paper to make some details about who this young girl is, try and help her. Comes back, the guy then hits on her, sexually assaults her as well. One of the most alarming things that I read during the sentencing today is this fella said that actually he didn't realise how strict the UK was. And because of this, he now wants to be deported. The judge, after hearing that this fellow was telling all kinds of lies, saying, he had a bit of mental health problems, couldn't really speak English, whatever, the judge was having none of that and said that he has an appalling regard for women. Now, this is the problem that many people have, Geoff. These fellas are coming from, and I'm just going to be quite honest and call it as it is, they're quite backward cultures, particularly in their regard for women. They don't have the same regard for women and girls, etc., as we do in westernised societies. When he doesn't realise that he can't get away with trying to make babies with a 14-year-old girl and then just basically groping anyone that basically passes his mitts, how do you deal with this? How can anyone not feel concerned about having, 100 of these guys at the end of their road when they've got children, when they've got schools? How is anyone that's right thinking not going to be concerned about that?
Well, he is being punished at this moment, and that's absolutely the right thing that should happen.
That's not my question. My question is, this fella was caught. The woman, by the way, bravo to the lady, she chased after the guy. She was having absolutely none of it. She chased after the guy, caught up with him, and that's why he was caught. My point is, this guy is not just a random lone individual. He represents a mindset that will be, I would argue, prevalent across a lot of these men, that they think that they can come into this country and sexually assault little girls, young girls, and women, because in their hometowns or their cultures or whatever it is, that might be the thing that they do. He clearly thought he could get away with that. He can't believe it, that we're so strict, we don't allow. So what do we then do by the fact that this government and the previous ones are importing these men en masse and putting them in people's residential streets?
I think it's really important that we don't generalise from what is a very bad case. We should not stigmatise every single person who comes into this country.
I didn't.
Well, you were implying that everyone has the same values as this man, and I don't think that's right.
No, I didn't, and let me tell you this. This is what people do. Instead of addressing the concern that I'm presenting to you, which is a valid concern that's been demonstrated and concluded in this particular case, instead of addressing the concern that I'm raising, you're trying to make me out to be like an awful, perhaps racist person that makes out that everyone is like this. I never suggested, nor did I say, that everyone is like this. What I'm saying to you is that there will be a substantial number of men that are coming from these cultures that do not regard women or children as anything other than fair game. How do we deal with that?
Well, I don't accept that that is the case. And by suggesting that large numbers of men from those countries behave in this way is exactly the criticism I'm making of what you said. I don't believe for a moment that large numbers of men behave like this.
Do you read the news story?
One has behaved like this, and he is being punished at this moment, which is the right thing to do.
With all due respect, you are a very intelligent man. You must know that this is not an unfortunate, isolated incident. You must know that. You must yourself read news reports, etc. There are scores of these now where men have just helped themselves to women and or girls. You must read these stories and think to yourself, there is a little bit of a pattern going on here. You must, surely.
I'm not making any excuses or any apologies for people who break the law. And it's important that we deal with it through the law. No, I've already discussed this evening Afghanistan. I've been to Afghanistan many times, and I've seen what that country is like. I've seen the appalling way that they treat women. I've seen the dreadful consequences for women who can't go to school, who can't be educated, who can't even now read books written by women. It's an appalling situation, and I accept that many other countries in the world do not have the values that we have.
Right, so then you must accept that the people coming from those places, I mean, surely you don't think that they're immune immune to what's going on in their culture. They don't like all of this is going on. You've just described they're doing all these awful things with women. You don't then think that en masse all of these men are then immune to that, do you?
No, I'm not saying they are. But what I'm saying is that if they break the law, they should be punished. And that's what's happened in this case.
Punishment. 12 months in prison. I mean, I tell you what, if that fella had gone on social media and tweeted about himself and his mates in the hotel, he'd have got a longer prison sentence than he currently got. So I think we live in an absolute scandalous clown world, ladies and gents, and I feel that this government and previous ones are risking the safety of us citizens, particularly us women and indeed our children in this country. It does not wash with me, this argument, oh, they're not all this, they're not all that. No one said they're all this and no one said they're all that, but it is undeniable that many of them are. And why should anyone have to take the chance? Oh, well, is that a good one at the end of my road or a bad one? I think it's absolutely disgusting.
So what's the solution?
What's my solution?
Close the hotels next to school.
No, I don't even want to talk about hotels. My solution is stop them making the crossing. You wouldn't be in a hotel under my watch. You wouldn't be in the country. That would be me. I would have the Navy or whoever it is actually patrolling the borders, protecting the borders and doing whatever it takes to stop these men feeling that they can get in a massive boat and get all of this access to this country and everything it presents. That is what the solution is. Stop them coming into this country.
They're coming from countries that have alien cultures to this country.
Right, look, I've been told to hear more from you. I didn't even give you a beat to respond, and you are the councillor in Epping, Epping Forest. So how would you respond to Geoff?
Well, this is the problem, isn't it? Because when people try to have an adult conversation about suggesting that people coming to this country illegally are coming from countries where their culture is frankly foreign from this country, where women are treated very differently to how the West treats women. And no, not every single person in those countries that live in those countries are like that. But there is a huge critical mass of young men that do not show respect towards women. And you can see it with this case. And there are so many other cases. This is a high-profile one. There is a young girl allegedly raped in Nuneaton, again from an illegal migrant. What we know is that they do not respect women, and that is why women are not safe where these hotels are. In Epping, I am factually correct to say women are not safe to walk near that hotel, which is why it has to close. It's next to a school. This girl was in her school uniform, and the defendant in this case said, I didn't realise the rules here were so strict. That tells you all you need to know about where that man came from.
Right, so where do you want these people moved to then?
These people, first of all, the hotel should not be there because of where it is. It's near a school. It was closed by the previous government. This current government ashamedly reopened it, and the Conservative Council failed to close it. Where should these people go? They should be deported. There is only one way to deal with illegal migration, and that is to deport people.
But where do they go in the meantime then?
They need to be in camps, and they need to be deported. The minute they arrive here, Michelle, they need to be arrested, detained and deported. And the closer that detention centre could be to an airport, the better. In fact, I kind of welcome that Gatwick's getting an extra runway and Heathrow, because that means that by the time reform get in, we'll be able to have as many flights as possible. We need RAF bases being used. There are plenty of places in this country, Michelle.
But people don't want that. You've got Scampton, which is a disused base, and there's Scampton process. I used to drive by it all the time. It's not far away from Hull, if you don't know where it is. And they had like a camp, a 24/7 camp that they were protesting. They didn't want that base being used.
Just as quickly as we built Nightingale hospitals during COVID, we need to build detention centres, we need to detain and deport. But the thing is, Michelle, when we do that, they will stop coming. That's the point. They're leaving France because they come here for an easy ride. When we stop giving them benefits, stop giving them hotels, they will stop coming.
We're almost out of time, but anything you want to respond to that, Geoff?
The reality is that we have to apply the law. The government have made quite clear that they want to close hotels, made quite clear that they want to accelerate the timetable for doing so. But at the same time, we also have to apply not only our own law, but we have to apply international law.
Why?
We have a parliament, we could change laws.
Yeah, I was just about to ask that.
The reality is this country has, as its main preoccupation, the rule of law, as its main tradition, democracy, as its main rights, freedom of speech. These are vitally important aspects of our society. And if you start chipping away at that, which is what reform wants to do, then many other aspects of our society will collapse.
You think, I mean, I find it interesting that you think it's reform that want to chip away at that. You talk about free speech, a fundamental tenet of democracy. Are you telling me seriously that you don't think the Labour Party are chipping away at free speech in this country?
I can't see any evidence for that at all.
Goodness.
Do you know
me and you, we need a night on the town, me and you, Geoff, and we're not going to be dancing eating and drinking, my friend. We're going to be reading news reports. I'm going to be showing you all kinds of information. It's going to make your hair curl, Geoff Hoon, because I don't know what you read and where you read it, but if you don't think that the Labour Party are chipping away at free speech, goodness gracious me. Look, I apologise for getting on my high horse tonight, ladies and gents. Oh, I can't help it. Sometimes I do need to get things off my chest. Anyway.